DJI tossed a box with the brand new Osmo Mobile 8 right at our window, even though it's not our birthday. So of course we had to pit it against Insta360's Flow 2 Pro and its AI tracker to find out just how different, or how similar, DJI's new gimbal really is. So buckle up, buttercups, cause we're diving into everything: design, features, battery life, price, and of course, tracking. Oh, and even though this video is sponsored by DJI, our take remains 100% honest, even if DJI might not like it. Hey, I'm Olive, your host here at Versus.com. Starting with design, you can see both of these gimbals are seriously compact, but the Insta360 Flow 2 Pro manages to take up slightly less space when it's folded up. They both pack an extendable rod, magnetic clamps, and a built-in tripod, though DJI's setup is a bit more convenient since all three legs fold in or out together. However, the Insta360's legs are longer, which gives it better stability. One small but really clever detail on the Insta360 is this little selfie mirror, as it lets you use your phone's main camera to film yourself while still keeping an idea of what's in the frame. Build quality feels sturdy in both, but the DJI has a bit more grip and sits more comfortably in the hand because of its curved shape. Both also come with a 1/4-inch screw mount at the bottom, so you can easily attach extra gear if you need to. Now, both detachable AI trackers include fill lights that you can adjust for multiple levels of brightness and color temperatures. DJI includes this right in the box, but with the Insta360, you'll need to pay extra for it. For weight, the DJI keeps things lighter at 372 grams, which is important if you're going to be holding this thing for long periods of time. The Insta360 is heavier at 400 grams, both with their trackers attached. Payload is 300 grams for both, which is starting to push the limit since a phone like the iPhone 17 Pro Max already weighs about 230 grams. Add a case on top and you're basically at the max. But now let's move on to the part everyone's been waiting for: tracking. Both brands are really hyping up their AI trackers, so let's start there. Basically, these little modules let you get AI tracking no matter what app or phone you're using. So in theory, you could even slap a Nokia Lumia 1020 and still take advantage of AI tracking. But it is 2025, so we're gonna stick with our trusty Lorix iPhone and its native camera app instead. With both gimbals, all you have to do is show your palm to start or stop tracking. Each tracker has a little LED light to let you know when it's actively tracking you, but we've gotta say the one on the Insta360 is a tad brighter. The gimbal itself also has an extra light strip right at the top of the handle, which makes it way easier to see if the tracking's actually on, even from a distance. Honestly, both AI trackers do an awesome job of finding and following me, but I've gotta say the OM8 is definitely smoother. The Flow, on the other hand, takes a split second to react once I start walking or when I change directions. On top of that, both gimbals have a little something extra for iPhone users because they both support Apple's dock kit, which lets your phone actually control the gimbal. All you've got to do is tap to pair, and then you can jump into your iPhone's native camera app. Just remember that while the tracking is super snappy, it's also pretty basic, as it can only track people and only one person at a time. Alright, for the next round of tests, we're only going to be using the official apps for each gimbal, which offer way more deep and rich features than the AI trackers or Apple's dock kit. You can start the tracking using the same hand gestures as before. However, you can also do a simple trigger press or just tap your subject on the phone screen. Let's start with people tracking first, since that's what you'll probably use the most. The OM8 immediately locks onto my face and even tracks me smoothly when I turn my head away from the cam. When I duck behind a tree and pop back out, it totally gets back on track super fast. The Flow performs really similarly to the DJI, though just like with the separate AI tracker, the relocking after I hide behind the tree and reappear is slightly less smooth. Next up, we're gonna run the same test, but we're cranking things up a notch by using zoom while tracking. The OM8 can track at up to 24 times digital zoom with our iPhone, and honestly, it does a really good job of keeping my face in the frame. The wheel on the side also lets you zoom in and out super smoothly, which really gives your footage that professional look. The Flow performs pretty much identically to the DJI when it comes to the actual tracking, but one really annoying thing is that when you manually zoom using the wheel, it's either full speed or nothing. There's no in between, which makes the video look pretty unprofessional. The The OM8 throws in a special trick called Dual Lens Boost, which essentially teams up two lenses on your phone for even more intense tracking, especially when there's a ton of crazy movement in your shot. This works from 1x up to 8x zoom. The Flow has a similar feature called Active Zoom Tracking that also uses two cameras for more dynamic tracking. However, its zoom range goes all the way from 1x up to 24x zoom. But now, in case you are filming with your whole crew, both gimbals are clever enough to detect multiple people all at the same time. On the OM8, you've got to flip on a setting called Smart Capture, which lets you track any of the faces it detects. But keep in mind, you can still only track one person at a time by either tapping them on the phone or pressing the trigger. The Flow, on the other hand, can also spot multiple people in the frame, but it has the ability to track them as a group. It automatically gives one person priority in case any of these secondary people temporarily leave the frame. Okay, now let's check out the object tracking capabilities in case your main goal is to showcase products or something similar. Starting with the OM8, you can see how precisely it locks onto the iPhone as I move it all around. It also immediately recognizes the phone and gets back to tracking it right after I quickly hide it in my pocket. It doesn't even lose the phone when I pass it right in front of my face. The Flow also nails it, doing a solid job of identifying the phone and resuming tracking even after I briefly stash it in my pocket. Just like the OM8, it keeps a lock on the phone even when I pass it in front of my face. Finally, we've got 360-degree tracking, which is absolutely perfect for giving your audience a truly immersive look at everything around you. This feature is a huge deal because the OM8 is the first DJI gimbal model to offer it, fixing one of their biggest past shortcomings. So now you don't have to worry about hitting a hard stop when panning anymore. The Flow offers this feature too, and you can see that both stabilizers do a seriously good job of keeping the tracking locked on while simultaneously showing off your entire surroundings. Unlike the Flow, the OM8 can automatically spin for a full 360-degree pan just by double tapping the joystick, so you don't even need to activate tracking or physically hold the gimbal to capture that shot. While this isn't strictly tracking, both gimbals give you low-angle shooting capability. All you have to do is turn them upside down and pan around for some killer shots. Both gimbals actually do a nice job here, but the OM8 has a slight edge in handling, and the resulting video just looks a touch smoother. As a bonus, we also ran some tests on the stabilization while both walking and running. When we were just walking, they were practically identical, which isn't a shock since most modern phones already come with seriously good image stabilization built in. While running, once again, both did a really good job, but the DJI did have a tiny bit more shakiness. Still, it's certainly not a deal breaker. So, all in all, the tracking is pretty great on both of these gimbals, and there aren't any huge differences in the grand scheme of things. But when you really zoom in and look closer, the DJI's tracking is generally a bit smoother and the physical controls just feel more intuitive. However, the Insta360 definitely takes the cake when it comes to things like multi-person tracking, for example. But enough talk about intelligent tracking. Now let's jump into the different modes that these two gimbals offer. Both gimbals give you nearly the same set of controls. You get a joystick for movement, buttons for record, orientation, and mode selection, plus a rear trigger and a zoom wheel. The Insta360 definitely looks cleaner and more minimalistic, but in practice, the DJI just feels more convenient to use. It even includes a small display that shows you which shooting mode you're in. One thing to note about the tracker on the DJI is that it can double as a mic receiver since it has a built-in USB-C port. You just have to plug the module into your phone and then pair it with either a DJI Mic Mini, Mini 2, or Mini 3 to record clean audio even when you're standing far from the camera. Just keep in mind that the mic itself is sold separately. Technically, you could also use that mic setup with other gimbals, but you would have to connect the receiver directly to your phone, which can mess up the gimbal's balance. Alright, let's say that you've wrapped up your shots and have all your footage ready. Now it's time to edit, and of course, you can use each gimbal's companion app for that. So let's take a quick look at those. Both gimbals come with their own companion apps, DJI Mimo and the Insta360 app, and they pack pretty similar features. You'll find shooting modes like time-lapse, hyperlapse, panoramic shots, and even that dramatic dolly zoom effect. Here you can also tweak your video settings, set up custom paths for time-lapses, and honestly, a bunch more. Each app also includes tutorials and ready-made templates, so you can just drop in your clips clips and get a polished video quicker than SpongeBob can run to that mountain and back. But if you want full creative control, both apps have beefy editors built right in, letting you trim, cut, and fine-tune everything directly from your phone. Alright, but when it comes down to actually buying one of these, two things really matter: how long they last and how much they cost. So let's wrap this up by looking at battery life and price. Both DJI and Insta360 claim that their gimbals can last up to 10 hours on a full charge, though in real life, that number can shift a lot depending on what you're actually doing. For example, heavier phones, intense movements, or constant AI tracking will definitely cut that time down fast. Also, keep in mind that using tracking through the app will definitely drain your phone's battery quicker. As a bonus, you can use both gimbals as power banks, but DJI lets you charge the gimbal and your phone at the same time, which means that you can hook both your phone and the gimbal to an external power bank for some on-the-go charging. Finally, let's talk price. The Osmo Mobile 8 comes in at $149, and that already includes the tracker in the box. The Insta360 Flow 2 Pro, on the other hand, goes for $179 in the AI tracker bundle, which makes it $30 more expensive than the DJI. And honestly, you could easily put those coins toward a basic ND filter or something else for your setup. So to sum it all up, there's no question that these two brands are going head-to-head in a serious way because both gimbals are incredibly similar overall. However, it's those little details that really separate them. For instance, the DJI OM8 is straight up cheaper and it includes that AI tracker right in the base bundle. Plus, it has a dedicated slot for an OEM counterweight to handle those flagship phones with chunky lenses. The Insta360 Flow 2 Pro, on the other hand, boasts a more stable built-in tripod and has more intuitive LED lights to show when the tracking modes are active. But you're definitely gonna have to shell out more cash if you plan on getting that AI tracking module. In case you want to take a closer look at either of these two gimbals, don't forget that we always put links for you in the description below. But honestly, we would love to hear from you if you've used either of these brands, so let's discuss it in the comments below. And before you go play GTA Online, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and hit subscribe as we're always testing new devices to help you make the best choice. We'll see you in our next video, and until then, take care.